So a massive pump within the markets, definitely a little bit unexpected from my side at least. I did think there could be a bit of upside, but that was definitely more aggressive than I thought it would be. And I'll show you exactly why it happened and what the next potential trade is that you can look out for. Sad day to have taken a day off of trading yesterday, as I should have left my longs open in hindsight. But anyways, I am looking to continue the same plan of day trading essentially for the rest of this trading competition. Without further ado, let's get into why this happened. So if you have a look over here at this tweet from Markets and Mayhem, he said it's looking pretty bad at Google. And I just want to touch on the last part over here. He says this is more evidence of the economic weakness that we're experiencing, and it will worsen. So if that was the case and their earnings came out worse than expected, then why did the market pump? Well, it's almost as if there's this mini form of quantitative easing that they've established themselves. And if you look at this tweet, it's because Google repurchased over 15 billion in stocks during Q3. So there's this whole stock buyback thing that's going on at the moment. But let's have a look and see what happens with the Meta results, because if Google was bad, since they work off ad revenue and the ad revenue was significantly down, then it would be anticipated that Meta, or Facebook at least, should have a similar result. And if you have a look at this tweet over here, it says stock buybacks have never been more popular, with US companies announced repurchases are on track for a record 1.25 trillion. So absolutely massive corporations rebuying back of their stocks. And of course, that consequently means those mega companies form up a massive part of the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, and consequently that pumped the stock market, which has a result, of course, on crypto and led to a little bit of a bounce in crypto. And if you look at what Charles Payne says, he says, breaking news, a wave of big misses in key economic data sends stock market higher, which is a little bit of a confusing thing, right? And it's essentially because of the hopes for the Fed to step down and of course pivot within the market or pause. And he says, but there's lots of news to come this week, including key earnings, and therefore you should not jump the gun yet. This is just increased volatility, which gives you a great opportunity as a trader. Definitely as an investor, I wouldn't say that the opportune time has come yet, and that's at least from my personal point of view. Markets and Mayhem shows here that the Fed funds futures continue to price in a very high certainty that there will be a 75 basis point rate hike, which is coming in as soon as next Wednesday. And that's got a 95.7% odds of. So the 96% of the people at least believe that it is going to be 75 basis points. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And whenever there is a little bit of a move, I like to take a step back and always take a look at the higher time frame picture. And I thought, let's pull up the monthly chart over here. So as you can see, from a price action perspective, not much has changed. A little bit of a slowdown. I mean, all the guys that are calling up only, that's your candle on a monthly chart. However, what I would say is if there was some sort of a macro reversal or a big pump that continued on to around 25,000-ish levels, and you take out these zones over here, then, and it closes, specifically if it closes like that, that would be a good sign for the monthly RSI to come back within the control zone over here, which is above 43.5 on the scale over here. If it gets back into that zone, it will have an opportunity to gain more upside momentum, and then bulls can strengthen their case. MACD will also start to close in on its histograms and then have the chance to eventually cross. But this is macro. This takes a long time. Probably going to need at least another 3 more months to tell the exactly what's going on the higher time frames over here. And I just wanted to touch on this for everybody that has extreme FOMO, because I know even at the office, people that have missed out, aka Fred, he has extreme FOMO, he says, but this is just to take a step back. He has your daily returns in crypto for the month of October. And if you go all the way to where we are today, you have a total result of -2% on Bitcoin. That's basically from the start of the month to where we are, we're down 2% on Bitcoin. So I think that everybody can just take a chill pill, breathe, and look for the next best trade. Continue to minimize your losses and take the profits while you can. So I wanted to touch on this chart over here. Very, very, very important. He says here, this is Inspo Crypto, and he says that when you see BTC lifting up, as you have over here, but the CVD spot not doing anything or even declining more, that is actually a sign of distribution. And what this essentially is the cumulative volume delta. And what this chart over here will indicate is how aggressive the buyers or sellers are. And the indicator, you'll use this to spot various divergences within the market. And this is showing that there isn't really any spot buyers, meaning that the market is being led by leverage traders. And this is what I outlined in yesterday's show. Yesterday's show, I did warn and I mentioned that the global open interest levels are getting to record highs at the moment. And anytime that happens, there is a major reset within the markets, and that leads to one side getting completely liquidated. So you have to ask yourself, which side is going to be liquidated? I know a lot of shorts were liquidated, but that is not the reset that we were looking for yet on global open interest. It hasn't happened. And this is in agreement when you look at this chart over here. This is our Bitcoin on the weekly chart using our volatility indicators. And as you can see, there is a slight tick up, but when you look at the Bollinger Bands, they are still squeezing in. And that means that the move has not happened yet. We've seen the etchings of the beginning of that move, and I'll show you on the BBWP indicator towards the end of the stream how it's starting to slowly lift off on the 1 day, but the 2 day continues to remain flat. And that means that this is not the meat of the move yet. And as swing traders, which is more what I am, I look for the meat of the move before I enter my major bags, my spot positions, or my swing long, swing short positions on low leverage. Scalping is a different story. I do scalp and I trade those kind of strategies. And I have been dropping all of those in the Discord group for you guys. And we took longs on Friday, Saturday, as well as Monday. Yesterday, I sadly didn't trade. I wanted to take a break. So stay tuned because there will be a lot of trade opportunities. As soon as you have a little bit of volatility in the market, it opens the door for a lot of different trades that you can take. Now, looking at the weekly chart over here, you can see that price has wicked directly into that 255 MA, and it seems to be rejecting in the same way that it did from all these previous weeks over here. It's using it as a resistance. So I'll keep a close eye on that and see how that pans out. But I did also mention that if this volatility expansive phase happens over here, so if you see something like this and you get a major upside move over there, despite this all being resistance, in all honesty, that would be enough for it to get all the way through this whole move over here. You'd be able to see price slice through this whole zone over here. So if you take a look at this chart over here on the 3-day chart, this has now convincingly broken through this descending trend line. Now what you want to see is a close above here. If you start to see a close above here on a 3-day basis, then you start to trade this like a range again, and you would look at this as a break back into the range, and then you're going to be targeting higher prices. So something like this, you'll be looking towards the mid-range, and then if you clear that, you get to the top of the range. And at this point, this is where we can say for sure that a whole macro reversal has probably happened, and maybe we in the beginning of a new bull run. Do not quote me on that and repost that. I am not by any means saying that. We need to wait and see how price reacts within these zones first. I definitely still lean towards midterm bearishness, which is what I previously said. Short-term bullish, which is why I was looking for longs. Shorting at this level does not make any sense yet. You need to see a little bit higher prices before you can start to go short, and we'll get into what that looks like in a moment's time. I wanted to pull up this over here by Kryptonium G. He posted this on Twitter, and he's showing essentially his Elliott wave pattern for the stock market. And that was a wave 1, essentially looking for wave 2 to come into this zone over here. And that would mean that there is a little bit more upside for the stock market, which would, of course, bode well for crypto, which gives you a little bit more of a relief rally. And you have to be very cognizant of the difference between a macro reversal and a relief rally, a bear market relief rally. The bear market relief rallies can be super aggressive, and I definitely am someone that would want to participate in that, right? But you have to look for good setups first and manage your risk properly before you do something like that. So what would that look like if his wave 2 pattern played out? It means that you would have to slice through this resistance zone over here. Initially, I had this whole circle outlined from when we had this move down over here, and I thought it would be unlikely that we would get into that zone because it was taking its time. But nevertheless, here we are. From my analysis, I believe we'll have some sort of rejection from anywhere within the circle, specifically this box over here. But if the wave 2 is to play out fully, then that move would take you to this zone over here. And that does also line up with this moving average, which is the 200 moving average on a daily chart. Very important moving average for macro trends within a market. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Just know what you're dealing with. Any longs that you are taking, you are going directly into major resistance zones, and the picture only begins to change once you break above this moving average and you get above this zone over here, which is the major down trend line that's been holding price down since the all-time highs. So looking at Bitcoin over here, I like to use this chart occasionally as well when there's bigger moves to just kind of gauge where things are at. I have it on a weekly chart at the moment. And this is using the Coates moving averages with the Fisher distance from the EMA. It essentially measures how overextended price is from the mean. So you can use it as a mean reversion trader. And what this is essentially telling you is that there is still potentially a little bit more upside on Bitcoin in the short term. And then this will start to get to a topping out phase. And then when it starts to roll over or cross to the downside, that's where you see your major macro moves. So if you have a look over here, I'm just using this one as an example. You cross to the downside over there, and that is your move. It takes you all the way down for quite a bit of time. So we look like we're crossing down, and now it's started to turn back up. I'll leave it for a little while. When I find my major short zones, I like to use this for confirmation to gain a momentum move to the downside if I do decide to short, but I haven't taken any shorts yet. Looking at this chart over here, this is the inverted chart. Also, just take a step back and get a bit of perspective. 3-day chart, you can see it is still technically stuck within the range, right? So you have this as the range high or range low because inverted. And then we had this as the key level to break. So where do I start to flip completely bullish and my whole picture starts to change? Because it's always important to have the other side of the perspective as well. I'm not bearish because I want to be. I'm bearish because pretty much we have lower highs throughout. That's why I'm bearish. We have a flat bottom with lower highs. Of course, I'm going to be bearish if this level gets taken out, this higher low in this zone over here. And for that to happen, price would need to get back above $23,000 and close there on a 3-day basis. If it starts to close 3-day candles over there, you'll now have a lower high on the inverted chart or a higher high on the correct way around chart. And that would lead to a macro reversal. It would look something like this. And then I would look to bid on the next higher low, which would be somewhere there. And then price can turn around, right? So with that being said, I have mentioned multiple times on this channel that if you are watching because you're hoping to snipe the exact bottom, this wouldn't be the channel for you. I unfortunately am not able to do that. I don't think that anybody is. I will enter when the trend has completely changed and it looks safe to enter. So let's move on to the next important tweet over here. And I think this is a super important tweet because this is typically how these distributive patterns work out. Crypto Poseidon, he says, finally open the charts, preparing the biggest swing short position after the last $1,780 ETH short. It will be my last swing trade before 2023. Patiently waiting for a trigger to short them to zero. Of course, he's exaggerating. It's not going to zero, unlikely. But look at this chart over here. Let me make it big. So this is on Bitcoin. This is the way these moves typically take place. So you have this accumulation phase, accumulation. Then you usually have what they call the manipulation phase, which is the red box over here. If you look left to where my cursor is going, that's the strong sell-off and the imbalance within the market. And I mentioned to you guys, the only bullish case that there was looking to refill that imbalance within the market. And it wasn't enough of a case for me to go long into or to hold along with conviction from the lows just to fill an imbalance, because it doesn't always happen. So looks like it's playing out now. I mentioned that yesterday on Twitter. I said, looks like the imbalance long play is working out. So you have accumulation, then you have manipulation. It comes into this phase, refills the imbalance as a liquidity grab, recaptures the liquidity because big players are looking for areas of strong liquidity to buy and sell into because they have such massive orders. It's the only way that they can get their positions filled as traders. Then you lead into distribution straight back to the downside, and that would likely lead into new lows. So I'm still keeping an eye on that. Now, if you look over here, by Skew, he says BTC, Binance open interest is climbing again, but the funding has reset for this period, and we'll see how this plays out. What this simply means is that there could be more legs on this move, but the higher up you go, when people start FOMOing in and the more leverage that's involved, the more dangerous the longs become. That's not to say that you shouldn't participate in it. I'm definitely going to be taking some longs. I'm also going to be looking for 1 or 2 shorts that have lined up nicely to hedge, but you have to be patient and wait for the trigger on the entry on the shorts. If you short too soon, you will get wrecked. I do think there could be a little bit more of a short squeeze. And I hope none of you were in those shorts and got short squeezed out of the positions. Now, another thing that you'll remember that I've mentioned is the RSI on the daily over here. And I had these areas circled. Every time that you had this RSI breakdown, and this one messed us around quite a lot, I mentioned to you guys this would be the ultimate zone that I'd be looking to short from. And it's finally got there, is onto this trend line over here. But that doesn't mean that I'm just going to blindly enter short. As I just said, I'll wait for confirmation. You can't just enter yet. I'd want to see this start to turn around with confirmation that price action is also turning around. Price action is the ultimate litmus test. That should be your primary focus should be to master price action trading before you start to go into all the different types of indicators. So if this starts to turn around whilst price action meets a major zone of resistance and looks like it's fading, then I would start to look for a short opportunity. Now, this was the imbalance zone. I actually deleted it yesterday, ironically, because I'd pretty much given up hope on this section. But looking at this candle over here, you're looking for a refill of that area. And this is coming in around 21,000. So I would say anywhere between about 20,500 and $21,000 is where you should be looking out for a potential weakness within the market and bulls losing control. So have a look at this zone over here. This is all a sticky area. If you look at how price reacted, it held their support, continued up, wicked into that area, continued up, major breakdown and stop and bounce. And then this area over here was the imbalance, which is yet to be filled. So that's what I'm watching, waiting for that zone to be captured, and then price will most likely come down from there. Now, let's spend a little bit of time looking on the lower time frame at the different charts over here. They're all going to look very similar in terms of its momentum oscillators. As you can see, the RSI stochastics are pretty much reaching, but they can get higher. So don't be surprised if those go higher. Wait for them to turn properly, and again, for price action to show you that it's breaking down before you decide to enter any shorts. Looking for longs is going to be difficult over here. I'm not going to be able to give you a long on this show right now, but I will drop longs as soon as I'm finished with the show. I'll drop them in the Discord group because I need to sit down and really analyze and look for the exact trigger, and then I'll drop those charts there. So let me put this on a lower time frame. Let's go on a 4-hour. Okay, so looking at Bitcoin over here, here is your primary range. This is the main range. It's coming right into the top of that zone at the moment. It has broken through the diagonal, which is at least one good sign. And I mentioned yesterday in the daily candle newsletter that this area will be a tough zone to get through. It's between the 20,500 and 21,000. So watch for weakness over here. And then you're looking for a deviation within this zone before you go short. Altcoins look like they have more legs to the upside than Bitcoin. Bitcoin looks like it's already almost done. I'd be looking for something like that. Then you zoom in on a lower time frame and you look for a breakdown on the 15-minute or 5-minute chart, and that is your trigger to enter. And then you're shorting straight back down to the range low. One that is becoming almost mature already is MATIC over here. And I told you guys on yesterday's show as well, MATIC is nearing its range high. When it gets there, we'll start to look for short opportunities. So now it's hitting its range high, but I want to see more of a deviation. I want to see something like this. I believe that MATIC can squeeze a little bit higher towards the $1 mark into this box over here. The box is between $1 and $1.05, and that's going to be the zone that I'm looking to short that on a breakdown. What I anticipate will happen on a lot of the altcoins is you see this big move up over here. I anticipate a bit of a consolidation and then one more spike. That next spike is where I'm going to be looking for the shorts, consolidate, breakdown, and then that is your entry, and you short it back down to mid-range or range low. EOS, I sadly missed this yesterday. I did warn the guys on Discord that I'm looking to potentially take a long on EOS, but I wasn't at my desk at the time. It still might have an opportunity. If it pulls back a little bit, we'll look to bid the next higher low. And you can kind of play that on 4-hour chart with most of the different trades. What you can do is just put a very simple trend line. They all look the same, and you're looking for any pullback into that zone. It might take a couple of days, but any pullback down into this region over here, very, very easy. Set your bid over there, stop loss underneath the previous higher low, and then it should be good to go. Cardano was one that had an absolutely enormous pump. And the same way, guys, that I've just showed you the imbalance on Bitcoin, how that will get refilled, it works the same way to the short side. If you see a massive move like this, all these candles over here that have just ripped straight to the upside, eventually this is going to be retraced. Pretty much this whole move is going to be retraced, I would say all the way down to about 37 cents. And therefore, all you need to do is wait for the opportune time to go short on that. NIA was one that we gave a long on when it broke on this zone over here. If you are still in this long, if you took this as a swing trade, what you'll be looking for now is a convincing break through the top of the smaller range that we drew over here. It would look something like this. If you can see it get above there and hold, then you can place your stops. And then you're looking for much higher prices. Then you're looking for it to break back into the broader range where you take TP1 there and TP2 at the top of the range. So the altcoins do look pretty decent. There is still some opportunity for them to run. Again, just touching on Bitcoin for the last time, this was what I put in the daily candle newsletter. Bulls will want to reclaim above the zone. They haven't done so yet. If they start to do that, then you can target about 22,780. Once you clear those zones, then the macro picture begins to change. So with that being said, I have taken one trade on the BitGet trading competition over here. I see I'm ranked position 34. Sheldon, shout out to Sheldon. Oh, he's lost his first place position, but still he's done phenomenally well. He made it to second place with 305%. I think that's on a theta long. So have a look. He might have some low time frame entries for you guys on today's show. I think he's still holding this position because it's dropped. It was on about 330% or so. So he's obviously has not closed any of his longs. As for ByBit, I didn't take any other positions. I was 16th position yesterday. I've dropped to 59. Still the same P&L, but because I didn't participate on the long side, I've missed those opportunities. I will look to climb the ranks within this with you guys. So you're welcome to follow me with the trades. The link is in the description below to the Discord. That is where I drop the exact entry, exit, and take profits with the stop losses involved there as well. And to get that, you just look in the description. You'll see it will say at the bottom over here, join our Discord. Click on that. In order to get into the private groups, you'll have to use any one of my referral links over here, except for Prime XBT. They're not involved, but any one of the OKX, BitGet, or ByBit, check those out. Give this video a like. I appreciate it. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Thank you for your time. Oh, and one more thing. I wanted to touch on one more thing, guys, with regards to the thumbnails, because sometimes we get a lot of, what do you call it, like kickback towards the thumbnails. Of course, yesterday I had when to short, which is still relevant. I'm waiting for it later on in this week. Today is this thumbnail because there is trade opportunities. Just know that we play into the sentiment to an extent. To the way the YouTube algorithm works. And therefore, my next thumbnail is already prepared because this is what I expect. This is going to be the next thumbnail, guys. So I appreciate all of your time. Please don't get too emotional when you see the thumbnails and panic sell, panic buy based on a thumbnail. At least watch the content of the show before you make any decision like that. And that is it from me. Appreciate all of you. Have a stellar day out there. I'll see you all on Discord. Cheers for now.